Hello and welcome to Lord Fenton Gaming Reviews Final Fantasy VII Remake. I am your reviewer, Lord Fenton. In today's Final Fantasy VII Remake review, we're going to ask the burning question: is Final Fantasy VII Remake worth your time to play? As always, like, comment, and subscribe to my channel for more reviews like this. And do not forget to hit that notification bell so you update my content and more. So we're going to get to the question, but beforehand, there might be some spoilers being thrown here and there. So let's get started. Now, let's talk about the graphics. Oh my goodness, they look great. The CGI looks wonderful in the CGI scene. Now, this is like a remake of the original version, and back in the day, that was like upscale technology. Today's technology, oh my goodness, this looks great. So let's go ahead and explore further on the graphics. Now, let's go over the cutscene and the detail of the characters. They look great. The detail of the armor, the face details, and more. Even the train detail is like really nice. Imagine this being on the PC. People will be shocked. Well, anyways, that'll be on the PC in the future. I'm calling it. Still, it looks great. And one more thing we're going to look at is our character in the world. Now, we're going to look at our character. The character, even when you're wandering around, exploring, even combat, that character looks great. Cloud looks great. Even the materia is there. The details the developers did put in the materia on the weapons is great. So in fact, I am going to do is go ahead and just swap up weapons. I'll show you proof also of that too. This game has so much, I mean really so much. So we're just going to equip the Buster Sword without anything, and I'm going to show it. Voila. Yeah, even the Buster Sword looks great with no materia. Overall, the graphics in this game looks great and wonderful. Let's talk about the story. They did a wonderful job of the story in the remake. They did add some cool things. I'll touch on those later on. Still, the most part, the original stuff is still there. The key points are still there. There's so many goodness. Even with the CGI scenes and the story, it came to life. And this game does bring it to a certain point. I am not going to spoil it, but still, the story is wonderful and great. It keeps you glued. It gives you emotions like never before. It pulls your emotions. Overall, the story in Final Fantasy VII Remake is great. Just like the original, but better, I felt like. Let's go over the UI, the user interface. Here's the thing about the UI, it feels easy to use. Just like the original Final Fantasy VII Remake on the consoles, or even to a point PC with the, what are called this paper thing, it's easy to use. There's your materia menu, for instance, really easy to access. Yeah, I mean, the UI is easy to read, easy to understand. There's even an upgrade weapon section too, so you can upgrade certain weapons in the game. And what's neat about it is you could also put certain specs in there too, which is really nice. You just got to collect these manuals though. You got to work on that. I'll explain more of that later on too in the difficulty part. There's your battle settings too. You got hotkey certain things. You got hotkey, for instance, heal spells, attack abilities, attack spells, and more. You can also change up limit breakers too. So this way your character becomes powerful. There's also battle intel. That's another side activity they add in the game, which is great. There's also enemy intel too they have. So you keep on scanning foes. They'll be there for you, so you can permanently write down your foes' weaknesses on a sheet of paper. This is like really useful for boss fights, by the way. I'm going to say seriously useful. So overall, I felt like the UI is easy to use, easy to understand, and great to use. There's also your spell menu too, what your character currently has on their materia set up, which is really neat. There's your inventory. It's just like the classic. There's key items, weapons, armor, accessories, materia, music collections, and manuscripts. Yeah, those book things. I'll touch on that in the difficulty part. There's also your party system 2 in the game, which is really neat to use. Really neat. And there's also a manual 2 you want to look at, and there's save and load options. And there's your system. That's where some of the post-game stuff is at. I'm not going to reveal it there. And there's your map, real easy to use. There's also your quests, mainly your side quests. This is where they are at. Really easy to use, understand. There's even steps. And I'm going to look at the map one more time. This is like really easy to read. Really simple. I mean, really simple. There's also your story too. It tells you where you're at and where you need to go. Also, the UI is very easy to use for using potions, using spells, and more. Even combat's UI is great and easy to use. Overall, the UI, it felt like they did a wonderful job on. Let's go ahead and talk about the side quests. They are great. It adds to the story. It's a great new addition to this game. In the original, there's a few things you do, but in the remake, oh man, they added side quests so you do so much. It also opens up stories of certain side characters or certain lesser NPCs, or even something related to your main characters in the game. It also keeps you busy. It gives you plenty of challenges to do. The rewards are great and wonderful. I do mean great and wonderful to obtain. So overall, the side quests in this game is great to do, and it's also fun. It makes the game really fun to play. Let's talk about the additional story stuff. Oh my goodness, they added so much in the game, additional content. First of all, there's Chadley with the battle intel, and also a reason behind the story of that, which is very good. Also, some of the minor characters did get major roles, such as Jessie. Yeah, she got a major role too. Biggs and Wedge also got a major role. Johnny definitely got a major role. In fact, there is a trophy called the Johnny Experience that people should try out. Also, the additional story content does include discovery quests. Yeah, if you do all the side quests in a chapter or do certain things, well, guess what? You get these discovery quests. They add so much additional story stuff, which is really neat. Even later on in the game, they add some goodness in it. So overall, I would say is the additional story stuff made this game well worth playing. Let's talk about most of the things they kept in the game beforehand. Usually when remakes sometime happens, they take out something that's very important, some developers, or else they take something out they shouldn't have completely. Case in point, the Lunar 1 game. Well, I felt like the Lunar 1 game, when they remade into Lunar Silver Star story, they took out a few key points. I felt the Sega CD version was better. However, in the Final Fantasy VII Remake, they took out 1 or 2 annoying points. However, they kept the heart and soul of the game and most of the stuff you had fun with. They even kept the squat game. Yes, you heard me right. The squats mini game. I had some fun with that in the original, and I had a lot more fun in this one. Even showed some picture off on social media. So I felt like for the stuff they kept in the game, it was in the right direction and the right decision to do so. Even later on in the game, some of that stuff they did keep too. Let's go over the game's difficulty. Here's the thing about the game's difficulty. I felt like they did a wonderful job on it and give you rewards for even playing the hardest difficulty. Now let's go over it real quick. Classic mode, it's just like the original. You have auto attacks. Now easy, no auto attacks, but the difficulty is the same as classic, but still you could have to do is just mash buttons and such. Now the next one is, I believe, is normal mode. Now normal mode is a little bit harder, enemies hit harder, and it's like your average difficulty. Now one thing I love they did the most was hard difficulty. In other words, you cannot use items at all. You only could heal your mana at the benches or certain points. and the game is really hard. The bosses steps it up. However, you do get rewarded for your efforts playing this difficulty. Now, you cannot use items as you see here. Yeah, you heard right. Yeah, you cannot heal your mana. You cannot be wasteful. You gotta be smart. This game makes you think very smartly on hard difficulty. In other words, if you're gonna waste your MP, it's your fault. You have to think. That's what this game is all about. It makes you think, and it's a great thing that they do make you do that. Let's go ahead and talk about the world of Final Fantasy VII Remake. Oh my goodness, they did a wonderful job of it in the remake. Now in the original, it was run down, grimy, but in today's standards, they definitely improve on that with modern technology and more. So when you also walk around, people actually will talk to each other, interact, and more. You can interact with them too. The world's very interactive. You explore around it. It could be either grimy like this area or some beautiful areas and more. So here's the thing I do feel about the world of Final Fantasy VII Remake. It sucks you right in, and that's what you want in a video game. Let's talk about the boss fights. Oh my goodness. The developers did a wonderful job of them. It makes you think and more. It makes you want to scan your foes. This way you plan ahead. For instance, the Reno fight, it's more of a defensive fight instead of offensive. In other words, you just do not mash buttons. You do so, yeah, you'll get your butt kicked, especially against Reno. So I felt like the boss fights in this game is great, and it's at times it can be very difficult, and there are certain points in the boss fights reward you with cutscenes, so this way you could tell you how much progress you are making. So I felt like the boss fights in this game is great. Even the secret boss fights you do later on in the game, yeah, you gotta discover those on your own, but I felt like the boss fights in this game is a step up from the original, which is great because it makes you think, it makes you plan ahead, and that's what you want to do is that against a boss, so you can win. Let's talk about chapter select and post game. Now, chapter select happens when you beat the game, so this way you go back in case you miss any of the trophies, and it's a great thing. And as for post game, it tells you stats or anything you missed and more. You can even start chapter 1 on hard difficulty and redo the game entirely over again. So I feel like this is like a great option for those of you who want to restart the game or if you miss some, which is great to do. Let's talk about chapter 9. Now, I personally did not show much of chapter 9, maybe except for the squads minigame. But still, chapter 9 I felt like was the best thing that happened in the remake. I mean, it's great. The original, I also felt like in the Sea of Midgard, yeah, chapter 9 was the best thing that happened. Well, guess what? They brought that magic back and improved on it. And they made it so much fun. Even the side quests and the choices you make before and during some of the parts of chapter 9 dictates on what path you take for side quests. Either Aerith path or Tifa path, which is great though. It gave you a choice though of picking which ladies you want to resolve issues with. So I do feel like that chapter 9 was the best part, and I felt like the remake treated it well. If you enjoy the wall market, yeah, you're going to definitely enjoy chapter 9 when you first enter it. Let's talk about the controls and how easy they are to use. They are even much more easier, I felt like, than the original. Now, you interact with objects with triangle. It might be different on the PC by the time the game comes out in that version. Moving around is very easy. You push certain buttons, you move. Even the arrows and directions easy to move. So this way, your characters go through certain obstacles and more. So I felt like the controls in this game is crisp, easy to use, and also very easy to use in combat too. I'll touch on that later on. Let's go ahead and speak about combat. Now, first of all, it's more action orientated, just like Final Fantasy 15. However, they kept many of the cool things such as limit breakers, summons. They even have abilities you get to use for your characters, which they added, which is very nice. Also, they got spells too. You get to cast too. For instance, this foe's weak to fire. You guys definitely cast on that. You also scan enemies too, which is really nice. They kept that from the original version, you know, they named it something else different. Also, if you're in trouble, like I said before, Limit Breaker, they kept that in the game, so you do a powerful attack. Overall, I felt like combat is great in this game and very enjoyable. Let's talk about the voice acting in this game and the characters. They are great. They still kept the characters the same. They expanded some of the other characters such as Jesse. As for the voice acting, it is great, including the dude who played Badger in Breaking Bad.
How did you guess?
Easy. You've been acting weird. Like talking about one thing when you're obviously thinking about something else.
Yeah, and don't get me started on all that pep.
All right, I'll give you that. But how did you know I wanted to head topside? Was I talking in my sleep? What else did I say?
No, we just figured you wanted to see your parents, that's all.
Nailed it, huh?
Yep, right on the head.
So, seeing as we don't have any family of our own, how about you let us be a part of yours for a bit? You know, spread the wealth.
The voice acting is top notch. I enjoyed it. The main characters are great too, and their voice actors. The characters in this world is great. I am glad they expanded on all the characters from the original and made so many improvements on it. So overall, the characters and the voice acting is top notch. Let's talk about the music and sound. From the sound of magic hitting a foe to a train moving, it's great. However, the best part is the music. Remember the music from the original Final Fantasy VII? Well, they did a great job of upscaling it to today's standards. So let's go ahead and listen to this piece. And that was one of the original tracks when you start out the game. They did a great job of upgrading it. One of the safe tracks I could play. More on that later on. Still, the sound and music is great. They add some new tracks to the remake, which is wonderful. So I feel like the music and sound is on point for this game. Here's what I want to talk about in this game is the trophies. Oh man, the trophies are great and fun for this game. There are story trophies, there are fight trophies, there are even certain trophies you could save before doing them. So if you mess up, you can reload your saves. Also, you use chapter select to get those trophies in case you miss them. So let's go ahead and finish this mini game up and listen to the trophy pop. I do feel like the trophy system is great. What's a great time saver is actually going to use chapter select, which is wonderful. There's difficulty trophies, makes it great. So this way you can play the game over and over again. You should definitely play this game over and over again. So I feel like the trophy system is a nice addition to this game. Let's talk about the save system. You know, it has nice auto saves. There are a total of 10 manual saves. You're saying, why the limit number of saves? Why not this system? Remember from the old days, each 10 save sets will actually give you 15 saves. Yeah, we're going to go do a test on it. So we're going to check the save file, go ahead and make a save on the older system. Yeah, there's 15 in this set. I mean, there's so many saves you could do. Unfortunately, I hate to say, they dropped the ball for a number of saves they have. You think, oh, it's limited. There's a lot of memory. There's a lot of data. Still, it's a step down. That's how I feel like it. Let's go ahead and go back to the remake save system. This is one of the few things I was minorly disappointed in is the number of saves from the remake to the original. Yeah, you got limited in saves, which is a bummer. Let's talk about the AI system in the game. I feel like it's a mixed bag. For instance, sometimes the AI can be very good, and while other times it can be dumb. Now, for instance, I moved over here. Yeah, I moved right at this spot, and all my characters didn't take any damage. Now you're thinking, oh wait, that's a good AI. Well, here's another boss fight. Now, of course, if it later on, I feel like the AI was still getting hammered instead of setting up certain things. I feel like this game should have set up certain parameters in the game. For example, they should have done was set up how far you keep away from a boss, how you want to close in, even rein your characters together. I felt like they didn't do that at all, and it's like on their own. It's like a mixed bag, which is like, could be good for you, it could be really bad. It could be terrible for you on harder difficulties. So I felt like the AI in this game is a step down from some of the other Final Fantasy games. Let's talk about one last problem in the game. Block music and also block scenes in the latter chapters. Let me explain. I was disappointed in it. First of all, with the music, like this boss fight, I had to remove the music from it because you guessed it, it's blocked and copyrighted heavily. So if you're streaming this game, you're gonna have a hard time streaming the music because yeah, you'll be taking down your video, or else you get marked. So this way they get your money. Now, you're thinking, oh, wait, you're complaining about that. Well, here is the worst thing I'm going to complain about in a minute in this section, which is block scenes. Oh, yeah, like the Kingdom Hearts 3 ending that was blocked. If you try to put it on YouTube or even go from the PlayStation Network, yeah, in other words, you cannot share that ending at all. Well, guess what? They did the same thing in this game. I felt like it was a disappointment. You know what? Spoilers are going to get out eventually, and people will spoil the game. And what's sad is what if you're not really a full-time YouTuber, you've beaten the game, you want to show the last boss to your friends on your personal YouTube page or something like that, and all of a sudden you get that message from Square Enix saying, yeah, you can't do that. It's a disappointment. I'm disappointed that you cannot even share it on the PlayStation 4, which is unfortunate because this game has some wonderful qualities in it from beginning to end, and you cannot show it off, which I'm like disappointed in that part. So what is my final verdict for Final Fantasy VII Remake? Here it is. Game that defined a generation with a score of 11. Despite the quirks that the game has, such as block scenes and other little minor quirks, this game is wonderful, very fun to play. The story is great. The activities in the game is great, such as side quests and mini games. It looks wonderful. This is the very reason for you to buy a PlayStation 4 or any other system that the game does come on later on. And that's one of the very first games you should definitely play is Final Fantasy VII Remake. Square Enix not only knocked it out of the ballpark, but it makes you want more. So you're asking, should I buy this too because this game is good when it comes out? Oh yes, you should, to continue the story. Yeah, you should definitely continue the story of Cloud and friends because the game is great and wonderful. And also very fun to play, which is most important. Well, this is it for my Final Fantasy VII Remake review. This is Lord Fenton signing off. Please like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching and have a wonderful day or night. Please stay safe. Please subscribe to my channel for more content like this, and do not forget to hit that notification bell to be updated on my videos and more. If you like more videos like I suggested, check out the one on the upper left and on the bottom left if you like YouTube suggestion of my videos.
Let's go.